All right, now I want to share a piece of my story with you because if you're in this online community, you must be attracted to wanting to create a life full of passion or one that you can create your own lifestyle, do what you love, and make money doing it. And how do you do that? And through my experience, it isn't you just wake up one day and it's there. It's more of you got to take a leap of faith at some point in your life, and if you're not doing what fulfills you, you will feel this stress, this tension, this anxiety, this disconnection until you take that leap. Because what God, the universe, or source is doing, in my belief, is cutting you off from the flow of energy because you're not where you're supposed to be. And what happens in life, from my philosophy too, is a lot of people live a life of scarcity where they'll take a paycheck, decrease their worth just to have safety and security. But what they actually do is disconnect themselves from their authenticity, which is where the most valuable energy flows to you. And how did I find this out is through my story of essentially in high school, and I'll keep this as brief as I can, hitting the key points. But essentially, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I won state fair in photography, but I didn't want to take headshots, and I was like, I'll just, I'm very much like my mom. So she's a nurse, she's an ER nurse. She has this like great stories, sounds like a lot of fun and adrenaline. Sign me up. That sounds cool. And ended up going to school for the bio degree because I was like, well, I can do anything with that. And then essentially along the way, I figured out like, oh, I might like to be a physician assistant. Shadow one was like, that's kind of cool. So applied to school. Unfortunately, one of my transcripts didn't get sent. So ended up going to a 1-year nursing program because I was like, nurse practitioner is the same. All I got to do is 1 year after this. So got a bio degree. Went into a 1-year nursing school, absolutely burnout. First day of school, hated it, knew it wasn't for me, but I was like, I got a bio degree. There's no turning back now. Let's go. So head down, just followed the path, ended up graduating from that, and then was like, cool, let's go to grad school next. Worked at Truman for a year. Did not like working with adults. Essentially what I learned there was adults, I was helping people that didn't want to be helped, which created a massive burnout for me. And then there's also like a lot of resentment of like, why am I helping people who can't help themselves? Like we see the same people on loops, and I'm like, all right, there's a problem here. And I didn't like healthcare. I was starting to see through the illusion of it. Ended up going over to pediatrics. Love that. What I didn't know was how intuitive and receptive I was to energy, and was picking up a lot of secondary stress, trauma. And along the way was also like, just got into grad school and was getting burnout. I was essentially working overtime, busting my butt, studying, trying to, had a 4.0, and was just like, my grandfather had died, and now I'm dealing with stress, anxiety, secondary PTSD from Children's Hospital, and just all over the place. My grandfather died. I had feelings of anxiety, depression, was just like, my whole world was crumbling, and I was using marijuana as a crutch because I didn't have any skills of essentially releasing that stress and anxiety or coping mechanisms. Now I cold plunge, sauna, yoga, workout, go for a walk. I have this tool belt. Back then I didn't. All I knew was I could get high, I could smoke weed, my mind would turn off, I could relax, and I'd sleep really well. 3 really important things to me at the time. Unfortunately, that led to me failing a drug test at work, which sounds scary, but honestly, I swear to God, I passed the test of life. We can go into the details of the drug test one day if you guys want to have a one-on-one conversation, or if you need some inspiration. It's a crazy story, but essentially what happened was I self-reported because I knew I screwed up, but I didn't know what to do. And then instead of working with me, it felt like they were on the other side of the room treating me like a criminal, and I did not like that, and I saw it as my out. I swear to God, I was like, and I wasn't spiritual. I had a very spiritual event the night before this happened at work. The closest thing to it that I've re-experienced is ayahuasca. It was the wildest night of my life. Anywho, saw it as a door to get out. And because like back to like right when I got into nursing school, I knew it wasn't for me. And I was like, finally, the door opened. I did not think twice. I was like, I'm done being a nurse. It was like resigned from that job due to a lot of issues. Resigned. And then I remember I called my mom too and was like, hey, I think I'm dropping out of grad school. This isn't for me. I was like, I'm good at it. But no, this isn't what I want to do with my life. And at the time, I just started building a brand called Alpha Omega Fitness Network that would later fail, but was like let's go into entrepreneurship. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was, and I was seeing that word everywhere. And then bam, this, along this experience and this timeline, like my spiritual awakening happened. I went from not even believing in astrology to understanding it. Like it was like reading hieroglyphs. I was just like, oh, wow, this is cool. I figured out and the more I looked into this stuff, I was like, oh my God, like this word entrepreneur kept popping up, like innovative, like creative. And in nursing, I remember I'd tell my friend Tiffany, I'd be like, I just started creating business. I'm too creative for nursing. It manifested. And oh man, it was just like, I'd found something that truly started to spark me up. It was like this adventure ride, and I didn't know anything, but I continually kept learning, and then ended up, this is the key part of the journey too. I took a travel job as a travel nurse. So they struck my license, but I still could practice because I hadn't had all the legal stuff happening yet. Took a job in New Hampshire and essentially got to live in the mountains for 7 weeks. Was making like $2,000, $2,500 a week, tax-free. Bought a drone, already had a camera. And when I wasn't working at the camp, which I actually loved, I was spending about 60 hours a week working there. When I actually could have a day off, I'd go play in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I'd drive to Boston. It was so awesome. I was exploring, I was adventuring. I had a drone, I was shooting this stuff. I knew nothing about making videos and taking photos, but I was learning. And I was just so hungry. And I was like, for the first time in my life, at 27 years old, I could say I was actually living and I was actually loving everything I was doing. And then boom, out of the blue, that nursing contract got cut 3 days early, and I was like, nursing is not for me. That was 100% my like, okay, let's put that away. And right before that happened, I was like, should I do this or should I not? Like I was debating on, should I go all in on my business or should I stay as a nurse? And then boom, that happened. And I was like, all right, there are no good omens around nursing. We are done. We are out. Nope, this isn't it. So then on the way back from that trip, I ended up going to the St. Louis Arch and met one of the most pivotal people in my life, this guy, Paul. He's an international businessman. And I met him because he wore a Pebble Beach hat. I asked him about it, and he told me about every shot he hit on this golf course. And I was like, why did I talk to this guy? Well, that question got answered. When we were going up the elevator of the St. Louis Arch, I gave my first elevator pitch to an investor. So this guy tells me he's the CEO of this company called Mastrano, like in tech entrepreneurship in, San Francisco and between San Fran, England, and London. This guy was phenomenal. And I had the chance to pitch him, and I told him about my business. It was called KC FitPass at the time. It's like AARP for millennials who are interested in investing in their health. It was my solution to healthcare. Paul said, I don't like your idea. And I remember my ego was slightly hurt. It was pretty hurt because I put a lot of time and effort into this. But he goes, I like you. You got the grit, you got the hustle. If you want to make some money, I can help you make some money. This guy, I swear to God, he's helped me build everything that I do now. And it wasn't through giving me money. It was through advice. It was through being a mentor, because Paul would become one of the most pivotal mentors in my life until he passed away 2 years ago, which was, man, that sucked. But this guy essentially, when this day came, I was calling him for advice, and he said, Chris, kill KC FitPass. And I was like, why? And he's like, you just made $350 as a videographer. That's a business. That's not. That's a hobby. This is a business. Double down on that, get some confidence, and it'll grow quick. He was right. Before you know it, I was making more money as a freelance videographer and photographer from something that I said I was doing and had no expertise in, but I sold it to people and I made it work, and I'm making more than what I paid 5 years to get a degree in. How crazy, right? And then along the way too on this path, so after that trip and after I got into video stuff, this guy ended up and introduced me to this guy, Josh. And he's like, you gotta meet this guy. They're starting a clothing brand called WKNDR Collective. Dude, you are perfect for it. Ended up meeting this guy, Josh. Josh would end up being, I'd say, the most, if not the second most influential person in my life as well. So what Josh did is essentially I met him and he was showing me these photos of Guatemala. He's talking about the adventure and traveling, and I'm just like, this guy gets it. I need to stay close to him. So essentially what I did was I act as a content creator for WKNDR Collective, and Josh was like, you can have 50% of any shirt you sell, which you'll see in our affiliate program. That's why I'm throwing that bag. Ended up, and I was like, this will be cake, dude. These shirts are like $40, like that's $20 to sell, let's go. I cannot tell you how hard it was to sell t-shirts. And these are high quality shirts. Like this is a tri-blend heather. It's got a dope logo on each, we have different symbols. There's a message on the inside of the shirt. Each message is unique. Like, talk about sales point. I cannot tell you how hard these shirts were to sell. And I think over that year, I ended up selling 7, 10 shirts max. And I was like, holy shit, sales and marketing is so hard. And ended up having a little like, and that was when COVID and stuff was happening. So then like ended up like not seeing Josh for a couple of years. He would reintroduce himself into my life, which we'll get to. We'll get back to that. But then so Josh exited my life for a little bit. I had these dope weekender shirts I couldn't stop wearing, and I was like endlessly like, dude, this feels like it should be my brand. Like I endlessly had that feeling. It was just like, God, why is this guy running my brand? Anyway, so Josh goes out of the picture for a minute. Then I get this job with Revis Solar Energy. This guy's name is Rich McCoy. I would say he is the top solar influencer in the United States, or like one of the realest guys who might not be like on the million followers list, but this guy makes money and he can make you money so fast. So what I ended up doing for Revis was filming personal brand content for Rich, and also like they had a really cool community there for solar. So as solar was rising, it became very popular. But this guy, Rich, he acted as a sales leader, but would get all these salespeople in there for Tuesdays and Thursdays. They would have meetings. So they'd watch motivational videos. They would practice how they would sell. And Rich would give them the keys to sales. And he's like, and I learned so, and where I'm getting with this, I learned so much sales and knowledge from Rich. Like, it was incredible. I'm like, oh, you don't have to sell it. You just have to literally have such a good product in your hand that you're whenever people are like, oh, maybe not, you're just throwing them facts of like, no, literally, like, I'm not trying to sell you something. I'm trying to save you money. And if you have such a good product that is backed, it's very easy to sell because all you do is have conversations with people. And the more you can converse and emotionally connect with them, the more they trust you. And it goes from a game of like, we got to sell this to like, how's it going? What's your struggles? How can we help you? Oh yeah, that's a common, misbelief. Here's what actually you'll save. And here's how much money you can save. And like another skill I learned is like, if you can authentically and truthfully save people money and solve their problems, they will endlessly buy from you and trust you and refer you. And once you know those skills, you don't have to sell anymore. You just got to meet new people and talk to them and have a conversation. And what you're building or selling will sell itself because they'll be interested in you, and then they'll look into the stuff you did. But essentially, was just filming all this stuff for Rich, and along the way, I learned sales and marketing, and this guy's a guru. I mean, he's awesome. And then bam, that contract ended, and I was like, shoot. And then whoop, was at Woodside one day and ran back into Josh, and he's like, what's up, dude? He's a super fun guy. But essentially, he's like, hey, I need you to come film my clothing factory in Guatemala. And unfortunately, that trip that year didn't happen. But then March of last year, he randomly hits me up and like, hey, we're going to Guatemala in a week. You want to go? We need you to film and take photos. And I'm like, heck yeah. So along the way, got to reconnect back with Josh and got to go to Guatemala, which changed my life. I swear to God, I ended up blowing my eardrum, jumping into Lake Adelon. But I think my whole mental mindset reset. And as Josh said, he's like, there's something magical about Guatemala. And my goal is to take a group there one day, because the volcano is something phenomenal to see, and to see it erupt every 15 minutes is just insane. But just like the essence of the land of Guatemala is, it's very transformative, and it's a very cool spiritual place, especially Antigua. We spent some time at Lake Adelon and Antigua, but through the whole time, I just got to film, adventure, and travel, and kind of went out on my own when we were there. But essentially, like that trip, Josh connected me to another piece of my future where I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. I freaking love this. I ended up blowing my eardrum, and I'm still walking around filming everything. You get the gist here? And then I was like, at the time, they were trying to figure out ways to increase manufacturing. And I was like, hey, what about that brand Weekender? And he was like, dude, it's dead. No. And then ended up getting back from that trip, ended up meeting with them, and was like, hey, you know what? I'll end up trading you stuff for some marketing videos for Weekender. They took it. And I was like, let's go. And I finally got that brand that I felt like it was my brand. And then along the way, essentially, and this was a year ago, just started, understanding how to build a brand. And as I built Weekender Collective, I've had all these pain points come in of like, what are guidelines? Like, how do you get clarity and focus? How do you build a brand while you're also running another successful business? Like, all these things came up, and that's why I created this. Is almost like what I was trying to create a brand off of ended up failing. But along the way, I was like, oh my gosh, this is, it literally, WKNDR Collective has taught me every skill. WKNDR Collective and Josh have taught me every skill that I need to help somebody create this life, because something Josh connected me to is living my purpose and understanding that you don't have to have a degree, you don't have to have a certificate. You can literally say you are something, and if you do the work, you can do it. It takes a leap of faith. That leap of faith is tested and is challenged, and it's almost the universe being like, are you really going to do this, or are you going to, wimp out and go back to what you're doing? But once you get past that, doors start opening. You start meeting the right people, you have the right conversations, and once you get out of trying to force it, it all finds you, because what you're doing is living authentically and you're living aligned. And when you live authentically and aligned, everything comes to you. And I think another thing I need to tell you, if you've made it this far in the video, is read the book Ikigai. It's Ikgai. And essentially what Ikigai does, and it's written by Hector Garcia, you put 4 circles, and it's like, and I might not be able to remember all these, but it's like, what do you love? What does the world need? What can you be paid for? And the other one's very similar to those 3, but essentially, Ikigai is a great concept that essentially like really connects to this purpose of like, what is your purpose? And you don't have to monetize your purpose always, but it's like, where can you get this energy every day? So for instance, I'd say my Ikigai is being creative, building stuff, helping people, and sharing information. Like, that is across the board my story. And I am able to monetize that. But I remember in the book Ikigai, one guy's Ikigai was watering his tomatoes every morning. And though he didn't make money off the tomatoes, that brought him the energy to live throughout the day. And it brought abundance because he was getting that very abundant energy from being authentic to himself. So essentially with the concept Ikigai, which kind of is my life path, is like, look at your life and see like what makes you passionate. How, what does the world need? How can you essentially monetize that? And how can you create a solution for everybody involved? But overall, the number one thing I want you to get from my story is it's never too late to switch. Once you find out what you love, double down in it and just focus on it, because I think focus is the unsaid currency of this universe. And the more we focus on stuff and pay attention to it, that grows. And once you understand that, you just got to figure out what you love, what you can make money doing, what kind of lifestyle you want to live, and then start creating it, start focusing on it. Put it at the beginning of your day so that nothing gets in the way of it, because that is your time to focus on you, and then do all the other stuff, But as a whole, thank you guys so much for listening to that. Hopefully it inspired you. If you're older and you maybe think it's too late to restart, it's never too late. I restarted at 27, and I think I'm restarting again when I'm 34. So, and I'll probably restart 100 times in life. I'm a mental projector. I'm here to just continually shift and turn, but I want you guys to really focus on what you want to become, what that lifestyle looks like, and how you can start creating it. And that is the exact why of why I created WKNDR Collective. Is I want other people to have access and opportunity to this, because it's been the most transformative thing that's happened in my life. And that's what I want to share with you. So guys, thank you so much for being here, and we'll get you over to the next video.